Oh, god dang, dude. I'm so sick of Nintendo. Nintendo's so gross, man. Nintendo, look, we just hit 2 days ago on the fact that they put a DMCA in for the Dolphin emulator on Steam that was about to release, which is an emulator to emulate, what was it, Wii U and GameCube games. Or was it just Wii? I think it was just Wii. Wii and GameCube games, I think. Um, I'll read this and we'll discuss a little bit more. But Nintendo using, this is a quote from Nintendo, using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development and stifles innovation. And to that quote, I would say that's true. Illegal emulation is not good for the industry at all. What's also not good for the industry, though, Nintendo, is to take away everybody's access to gaming history, which they do on the constant. We just saw it, what, a month and a half, 2 months ago, where they shut down the 3DS and Wii U eShop. So, I mean, where are you supposed to get your software from, Nintendo? And Nintendo feels the need to create a new online platform for every single new console they come out with. Therefore, they shut down at some point when the new console comes out from Nintendo. They shut down the access to the old stuff. Instead of having an online, perpetual, comprehensive place for people to go and grab that stuff if they want it and need it, they just shut it down and take everybody's access away, you know? So Nintendo just wants to talk about how emulators are hurting their development and stifling their innovation. They don't want to talk about how they keep taking away everybody's access to gaming history, which is also harming future development and stifling innovation. Because if people aren't able to go take a look at what has been done previously, which is, let's be honest, you need to know, if you're going to be in the video gaming industry, you're going to be a part of it, you should have some kind of knowledge about what gaming history is too. That's a big part of it. Where games have come from. What games in the past have done innovative, defining things for the industry that has changed the way gaming has moved forward, right? It's a big part of it, but Nintendo takes that away. So while they want to just talk about how emulators harm development and stifle innovation, they also do this by taking away everybody's access to historical gaming software. They don't want to talk about that side of it though, right? One thing that Nintendo has become very infamous for is their very strict measures on fan content, as well as emulation. There are many examples of this from the company over the years, but Nintendo has been very quiet in regards to why they actually do this in the first place. That has somewhat changed. Kotaku reached out to Nintendo for a response about the GameCube Wii emulator Dolphin, which I just talked about, being removed from Steam. Nintendo responded by saying that Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers. This emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measures and runs illegal copies of games. Using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development, ultimately stifles innovation. Nintendo respects the intellectual property rights of other companies and in turn expects others to do the same. So, it seems that Nintendo thinks that emulation and ROMs hurts development and innovation. It doesn't explain why the company has also targeted things like fan games, YouTube videos, and game mods. This is the first time Nintendo has provided some insight on why they're so strict with it. Look, I'll say this too, and I say this all the time. If you're not familiar on the front of like emulation and you know, because there's definitely two sides to it. There's the side where if you own the games and you own the hardware, you are free to emulate that stuff, right? You're free to emulate that stuff. And I'll stick by the fact that historical gaming hardware and software that is very, very hard to get a hold of anymore, it's not manufactured anymore, right? If it's not being manufactured, then you can't buy it directly from, like, say, Nintendo. You can't buy Wii U's from Nintendo anymore. You can't buy Wii's from Nintendo anymore. You can't buy 64s. You can't buy Supers. You can't buy regular Nintendos. You know what I mean? And a lot of the software you can't buy anymore either. So what are you supposed to do aside from emulate it? And don't get me wrong. It's not just a black and white area here. There's a lot of gray, right? So it's basically, are you legally using it? And I think that the legality side of it needs to expand a little bit to that. If the developer is not providing you access, they're not manufacturing the hardware or the software for you to get your hands on anymore, you should be able to emulate it, because that is preserving video gaming history, right? But I'm also very much against anybody that's going to use emulators for circumventing the process of buying into modern hardware and software. That's piracy, and it's not healthy for the industry, okay? So don't get me wrong. I have a very dedicated stance on the way I feel about a lot of this stuff. And to try and, emulate modern hardware and modern software for things that are being manufactured and things that are being made, right, is piracy. And you shouldn't be able to get away with that. That's not good. It's not healthy for the industry. That's stealing, right? But this needs to be fleshed out more. And to be fair, Nintendo is flipping terrible. This Dolphin emulator, this is a GameCube and Wii emulator, man. They don't manufacture this hardware anymore. And they've taken away people's access to the software, right? So basically what Nintendo's doing is sitting here going, well, at some point in the future, we might decide to re-release some of these games on modern hardware, and therefore we don't want people having access to it, even though we've taken virtually all access away over the years. Even though there are still plenty of people that own Wiis, own GameCubes, things like that. The GameCube side of it's harder because it didn't have near the connectivity that like the Wii did or anything, But it's not fair. It's not fair. Nintendo wants to talk about stifling development and innovation. They do the same thing by not letting future generations of game developers, immerse themselves in what gaming history is. Nintendo's disgusting. They don't want to give you backwards compatibility. They make you they want people to double and triple dip buying the same thing over and over and over. There's a difference between smart, good business moves and then scummy tactics getting over on consumers. Just like, I'll give you a perfect example right now. Tears of the Kingdom just dropped, right? We know there's going to be a new Nintendo console in the way before too long. There has to be. The Switch is too flippin' old. The hardware is 8 years old in it. And it's mobile hardware, which means it didn't age as well as like normal hardware would anyways. I'll give them kudos. They've stretched it out longer than I thought they would be able to, but everything on it looks old to me. And not just that, but the ceiling for that hardware and what developers are trying to do nowadays with games, it's a tough job for developers to get things like that done on the Switch, right? So it's I don't know, man. I know I'm ranting a bit, but it's just they want to do like Tears of the Kingdom, right? They wanted to release it on this console, make people buy it for $70 a pop now, yeah? Which Nintendo games never hardly go on sale either. So that's going to be a perpetual price tag, except for the rare occasion where you might be able to get it on a sale for maybe 10 or $15 off, something like that. And that's US price, right? So convert that to your own region. But then the new console comes out, and do you think that they're going to give you access to play that game on the new console if you already own it on the Switch? Absolutely not. If you want to play Tears of the Kingdom on their new console when it comes out, they're going to make you buy it again, because that's what Nintendo does. So, I know a lot of people that are part of this community understand that, like, I've gravitated away from the console side of gaming pretty heavily nowadays. And a big part of it's because it's so scummy, dude. And what I'm talking about right now with Nintendo is a huge part of it. They want you to double and triple dip, buy things over and over and over. Then they want to take away historical access to stuff. They want to shut down all their online platforms for consoles that people still play. And I'm not talking about they need to still support those consoles. You know what I mean? necessarily. Like, you know, keep making firmware updates for them and things like that, because, you know, that's the way that works. There's going to be a cutoff date where Nintendo goes, look, we're not going to be doing, you know, we're working on future hardware and stuff. We're going to be finished supporting this as a version, whatever, da da da. You know, we understand that. But to just shut everything down and take away everybody's access to the software and stuff, instead of having one, again, just Nintendo Online. Why does it need to be Nintendo Switch Online? Make it Nintendo Online. Keep all the software on there for people that still want to grab software for whatever platforms they're still playing. And just quit being so scummy about everything. Nintendo's terrible. They're terrible. It's really, really gross. I'll quit ranting. I'm sorry. But man, Nintendo really irks me out really bad nowadays. They just want to project on everybody else instead of talking about how they create a lot of these issues themselves, you know? Disgusting.